Good morning, Dr. Patire and classmates. Today, let's talk about two of the contemporary philosophies of education, namely Reconstructionism and Postmodernism. I am Carmela Tingzon, your presenter for today's topic. This is the outline of my presentation. First, the background of the proponent. Second, educational implications of each philosophy of education and other school of thoughts to the curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, best practices, and school policy formulation. Relevant educational theories and research relevant to each school of thought. An inference in the relationship between theory, school of thoughts, and educational practices. And lastly, educational issues. Let us start first with Reconstructionism, also known as social reconstructionism, a philosophy that emphasizes the addressing of social questions in a quest to create a better society and worldwide democracy. The chief purpose of education is reconstruct society. For social reconstructionists, they believe that system must be changed to overcome oppression and improve human conditions. There are four known proponents of Reconstructionism. First, Theodore Roosevelt, the founder of social Reconstructionism, in reaction against the realities of World War II. His influence was John Dewey's educational philosophy. He urged the schools become a powerful force for social and political change. Moreover, he recognized the potential for either human annihilation through technology and human cruelty, or the capacity to create a beneficent society using technology and human compassion. Paulo Freire was a Brazilian whose experiences living in poverty led him to champion education and literacy as a vehicle for social change. A leading advocate of critical pedagogy, in his view, humans must learn to resist oppression and not become its victims nor oppress others. He sees teaching and learning as a process of inquiry in which the child must invent and reinvent the world. Ivan Illich, an Austrian philosopher and Roman Catholic Church, speaks about deschooling. He believes that schools do nothing to decrease poverty and that we will never progress if we don't school. What are the educational implications of Reconstructionism or social Reconstructionism to the curriculum? First, its emphasis on social sciences and research methods. Second, examination of social, economic, and political problems. And third, focus on present and future trends as well as the national and international issues. On pedagogy, the implications are schools adapt approaches that seek a variety of methods to make education more responsive to human or social needs. Teachers serve as agents of change and reform. Project director and research leader help students become aware of problems confronting mankind. There is cooperative learning, problem solving, and critical thinking. There is also focus on active learning and activities outside of the school. So how do Reconstructionists handle their classrooms? A good example is a class may read an article on texting while driving and watch a documentary on the need for awareness in school systems. Also, a police officer or a loved one of someone who has been affected by texting while driving may speak to the class and describe dangerous and fatal events that have resulted from choosing to text while driving. If the article, the movie, and the speaker inspire them, the students may take on a long-term awareness project. How do Reconstructionists assess? First, students have the ability to think in critical terms and expose their assumptions and practices. But they oppose standardized tests of both students and teachers. However, it can only be done if mandated by local, state, or federal authorities. Let's talk about the best practices of Reconstructionism. They organize classroom in a classless, non-sexist, and non-racial manner. There is less emphasis on management and control and more focus on community building. The atmosphere promotes analysis, criticism, and research would best describe the classroom environment. And conflict resolution and differences in worldviews are encouraged and reinforced. Let's talk about the best practices of Reconstructionism. They organize classroom in a classless, non-sexist, and non-racial manner. There is less emphasis on management and control and more focus on community building. The atmosphere promotes analysis, criticism, and research would best describe the classroom environment. And conflict resolution and differences in worldviews are encouraged and reinforced. For Reconstructionists, when they formulate school policy, the school program is built around day-by-day activities of children. I found some relevant research on Reconstructionism. An example is a study that investigated the relevance of secondary school learning opportunities in promoting national cohesion. The study was based on the ideals and principles of a school curriculum as advocated by Bromell Theodore on Reconstructionism philosophy. I would also like to share a really good movie which is depicting social reconstructionism. The movie in 2007, Freedom Writers. In the movie, the teacher was determined to get the students interested by requiring them to write. Students were allowed to write about anything they wanted and were free to express themselves in their journals however they pleased. The journal writing not only taught basic writing skills in some individual instances, it helped to bring students out of a life of crime. What are the issues of Reconstructionism? First, the chronic lack of consensus rendered the system unable to respond satisfactorily to public criticism and unable to plan for substantive long-range development. Second, it raised new questions about the proper functions of the school and the effectiveness for life, work, or intellectual advancement of current programs and means of instruction. Let's, let's now discuss postmodernism. It describes a school of thought arising mainly from oppositional and radical movements in contemporary society. The advent of the Industrial Revolution brought about major societal changes, as well as several social inequalities that were previously unheard of. Although the advances in science and technology continue to shape the world as we know it, the accompanying social changes in power and class structure tend to persist in similar forms as well. It is in opposition to these now established societal structures that postmodernist thought arose in very different areas of the world. Who are the proponents of postmodernism? First is Friedrich Nietzsche, who was a German philosopher who contributed the notion of life affirmation to postmodernism and questioned even the most socially acceptable doctrines, such as religion and morality. Nietzsche focused on the world around us rather than the afterlife. Another proponent is Martin Heidegger, another German philosopher. He is known for creating the concept of existentialist phenomenology. Existentialist phenomenology concludes that we construct our own truths from within, as opposed to theories that advocate one universal truth. Furthermore, Heidegger informed that we are not born into an existing reality, but construct our own reality based on our involvement in the world and on our innate intuition. Another postmodernist is Michel Foucault. He was a French philosopher who examined the theories of a relationship between truth and power. Foucault established the presence of episteme in philosophy. Epistemes are the knowledge or understanding that contribute to a society at a particular time in history. What are the implications of postmodernism? The teaching of critical thinking, production of knowledge, and development of individual and social identity and self-creation. That was the main focus. In pedagogy, teachers lead students to discover new things. They provide opportunity to discuss about different subjects and make creative ways. Students learn to listen to other voices and they tolerate other criticism and try to think in critical way. They learn to respect other cultures and nationalities. What are the best practices of postmodernism? Postmodernism rely upon their own definition of self. Their role is defined and redefined by themselves. They forge a place for themselves in the world and they create their own space, their own niche. That niche can be refashioned and discarded in changing circumstances. Their self can remain intact because it does not have to rely upon anyone else's definition. Postmodern teachers and learners have differentiated roles, but these roles are not discrete. The learner is encouraged to find personal meaning from the learning, as the teacher is allowed to discard the mask of authority and be more themselves, modeling the lifelong learning value of postmodernism. Let me share a research on postmodernism and its implication for educational leadership. So this article is to discuss postmodernism as it specifically relates to educational leadership and how it fosters metaphysics, epistemology, as well as axiology and recommendations that pertains to concerns with critical thinking, expansion educational leaders, viewpoints to become consistent with educational reform and education and to aid educational leaders in becoming a complete. Postmodernism has a major issue, and that is its development and maintenance of hierarchies. Example, presidents are higher than deans, deans higher than chairs, chairs higher than instructing faculty, instructors higher than students. This is the manner of things in higher education and for that matter, in most modern organizations. Hierarchy also exists in the relationship of higher education disciplines to each other, science being higher than arts and arts being higher than professions. Credentials, doctoral degree over master's degree over baccalaureate degree over associate degree, and institutions, university over university college over community college. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I hope we all have a good day.